Hello everyone, myself Mrs. Suvarna Alatkarti, Assistant Professor in the Department of Pharmacology at Nalla Narasimha Reddy Group of Institutions. So the subject we are dealing here is human anatomy and physiology, and in today's class we are going to discuss about the transport mechanisms or the transport across the cell membrane. So the transport across the cell membrane is required by each and every cell to maintain a normal functioning in the body. So to have a normal functioning, some molecules has to cross the cell membrane. So that is why we need some transport mechanism to transfer, because whatever the phospholipid that is there, the cell membrane or the plasma membrane is there, that is not permeable to all the molecules. So usually the lipid soluble substances, water, urea can easily pass through that bilayer, that is the plasma membrane can allow the lipid soluble molecules, small molecules or non-polar molecules, water, urea, all this can be easily passed through the cell membrane, whereas the some lipid that bilayer is not permeable to the lipid insoluble substances like ions, and charged or polar molecules like glucose cannot be passed through that plasma membrane, which is a bilayer. So for to transfer these molecules, so the cell requires some transport mechanism that has to be through some channels, protein channels or carrier proteins, or the active pump mechanism. So any of these protein channels are required for the passage or the transport of these polar molecules or the charged molecules or the ions. Okay, and some, if the molecules are larger, more larger molecules, macromolecules, they are transported through some vesicles or the sacs only. So we will discuss different types of the transport mechanism. There are three types of major transport mechanisms. They are like, one is diffusion, that comes under the passive transport, diffusion, simple diffusion, facilitated diffusion, and then the other one in that is the osmosis. And the second category is active transport. In that again there is a primary active transport and a secondary active transport. And the third one is vesicular transport, in which you will have the endocytosis, exocytosis, and transcytosis. Okay, so basically when you are studying the transport mechanism, the transport occurs through the cell membrane, right? So the cell membrane is made up of phospholipids. Especially the cell membrane is made up of the two layers of phospholipids. Okay, and in between the proteins are scattered in between the lines. So this phospholipid plasma membrane makes a boundary, or it acts like a fence to the cell. So it regulates the movement of different substances into and out of the cell. So this phospholipid, it's made up of a head-like structure, which is polar head, and it has a tail-like structure, which is a non-polar tails. Okay, so this non-polar is fat soluble, whereas this polar head is water soluble. And the membrane, which is plasma membrane, which is covering of the cell, it divides the cell into the outer area of the cell is called as the interstitial fluid, or the outside of the cell, and the inside of the cell is called the cytosol, which is present in the cytoplasm. Okay, that is inside of the cell. So this usually whatever the phospholipid bilayer is formed, it is two layers are attached with each other with a chemical attraction. Okay, and this usually allows the lipid soluble molecules can pass through this membrane easily, whereas the water soluble molecules are not easily passed through this. So the first one what we discussed in the transport mechanism is that the passive transport and the active transport. So in the passive transport, the major difference between these two transport is that the passive transport do not require any energy, whereas the active transport mechanism requires some energy for the transport of the molecules. Now coming to the passive transport. In passive transport, again you will be having a simple diffusion, facilitated diffusion, and osmosis. Okay, one by one we will discuss about all these three. That is, we'll discuss now. So in passive transport, as we mentioned earlier, there is simple diffusion, facilitated diffusion, and osmosis. So the first one is diffusion. Common diffusion is that always the movement of solutes or the molecule substances, they move from higher concentration to the lower concentration. That is simple diffusion. From higher concentration to lower concentration till they attain a equilibrium, they keep moving. So the example here is that the sugar molecule is dropped into the water and it starts dissolving. Either it's a movement of solute from higher concentration to lower concentration, or else dispersion of this solute into the medium in a specified time till it attains the equilibrium. So here the sugar molecule it has dispersed and spread into the water to attain the equilibrium. Now the concentration gradient is same here. So the movement here is from higher concentration to the lower concentration. So the simple diffusion, the molecules pass through the simple diffusion. So the molecules of the solutes which are present outside the cell, which are more in concentration, and the cytosol lower concentration. So the natural concentration gradient, they flow from the solutes. They naturally pass through the phospholipid membrane and into the cytosol. Okay, because from the higher concentration to the lower concentration. But we need to remember that this simple diffusion can happen only to the lipophilic or hydrophobic substances or uncharged particles, and then for the smaller particles only, because the phospholipid bilayer will not allow the lipophobic substances, charged substances, or the ions or the large molecules, and the hydrophilic substances will not be passed through this phospholipid channel. So simple diffusion is applicable only to especially the non-polar particles, because non-polar uncharged particles can pass through this, because the region in between these phospholipid tails is a non-polar region here, which will allow the non-polar substances to pass through them. So simple diffusion is possible only for the small non-polar solutes, okay, and uncharged particles can pass through them. Some of the lipophilic particles can pass through them. That is especially examples of these substances which can pass through the simple diffusion is like oxygen, carbon dioxide, nitrogen, fatty acids. All these things are can pass through the simple diffusion. That is the oxygen. If the concentration is higher outside, the oxygen is coming inside, and then the concentration of carbon dioxide in the cytosol is more. That's why carbon dioxide is going outside, that is towards the lower concentration. The concentration of carbon dioxide is higher in the cytosol. It's moving with a simple diffusion to the lower concentration to attain an equilibrium. Okay, so that is about the simple diffusion. Now we will study the facilitated diffusion, which requires some facility to transport the molecules from inside to outside or from outside to inside. So you have two types of facilitated diffusions. That is, one is channel mediated diffusion, in which the channel mediated, wherein the ions or small molecules can move through the water-filled channel. It's a water-filled channel wherein the ions or the small molecules will pass through the water-filled channel. Okay, so this channel actually, how does these ions can pass through? The ions which are charged, usually the ions which pass through these water-filled channels are usually will not have the same number of protons and electrons. Like for example, here 17 protons and 18 electrons. So not having the same amount of protons and electrons, they are highly charged particles which can pass through these channels, protein channels, and every protein channel is specific to particular molecules. It's not common. So in these ion channels, there are two types. One is leak channel and the another one is the gated channel. In leak channel, continuously it will be open. It is always open for the movement of the ions continuously, whereas the gated channel is not continuously open. It will be opened whenever there is a stimulus to open that. Okay, and it is open only for a fraction of seconds only. Through that fraction of second opening, due to the stimulus, the ions can make a movement, or the transport of ions takes place. That is the sodium ion which pass through leak channel as well when it is completely open, and whenever there is a stimulus from outside, so that gated through the gated channel also it moves. Next comes the another type of facilitated diffusion, in which a carrier is required. There it is only the charged particle move through the water-filled membrane. Here they need a carrier to cross across the membrane. So carrier-mediated movement, which will pass through the small polar molecules across the cell membrane. So like glucose molecules or the carbohydrates or amino acids, all these molecules require some carrier to transfer from outer membrane to the internal membrane. Okay, so now these glucose molecule, for example, it binds to the protein present here or the carrier present here, by binding to the carrier present there, it will change the shape of this channel. By changing the shape of this channel, the carrier let the glucose molecule pass through the phospholipid bilayer. That is the facilitated diffusion, which needs a carrier to transfer. Okay. So now coming to the third in the same diffusion, that is osmosis. That is the flow of the water molecule, especially the passive movement of water through the selective permeable membrane. So the whole membrane is not permeable for the water molecules. So through the selective permeable membranes, the water molecules from the higher concentration to the lower concentration, they move in the osmosis. That is the aquaporin channel is there. Through the aquaporin channel, okay, specific channels are open for the water molecules to pass through from the higher concentration to the lower concentration. That is about the osmosis. Okay, so for example, more amount of solutes are present outside and 97% of water is there, whereas water is more here and solutes are less here. But as it is a normal osmosis, what happens is the water molecules are more here, so the water molecules pass from here to interstitial fluid to make a balance and make a equilibrium. That's how the movement of water takes place there. That is in the interstitial fluid. That is about the passive transport we discussed now. Now we will have the look at active processes. Okay, active transport processes. Again, in the active transport processes, there are two types. One is active transport and the vesicular transport. So the active transport movement of solute against the concentration gradient, whereas in the passive transport there is a movement of solute means along the side of the concentration, that is from higher to lower, that is alongside of the concentration gradient. Whereas in active transport there is a movement of solutes against the concentration gradient, wherein the movement of solutes from lower concentration to higher concentration takes place. That is one thing, that is the active transport. And the other one is the vesicular transport, wherein the transport of these molecules takes place through some vesicle or through some sacs. These molecules, they will get present into the sac of the vesicle. Through the vesicle, they will be transported across the membrane. That are two types, that is active transport and the vesicular transport. Okay. So there are again two types, that is one is primary active transport and the secondary active transport. In the primary active transport, it is are transported through the ion pumps. Okay, through the ion pumps, whereas this particular transport requires energy particularly. So this energy which is required for this transport of sodium or potassium, whatever the molecules, so that energy is released by the ATPs. So this ATP now binds to this channel, and then it releases the energy by converting into ADP. Adenosine triphosphate releases a phosphate molecule and forms a adenosine diphosphate. So this phosphate molecule which is released binds to this channel, and it gives the energy for the sodium to pass through that channel. So the sodium which is present inside the cytosol, with the help of this phosphate energy, it passed from inside to outside. As soon as this sodium channel is passed here through this channel, and the channel is open now, so the sodium reaches out to the interstitial fluid, and when the channel is open, the potassium molecule which has to come down, so that will enter into that open channel now. So this as the channel is open because of the presence of this phosphate energy molecule, now this phosphate molecule will detach from that place, so the channel again close, pushing the potassium molecules down again. So that's how the sodium channel, sodium and potassium exchange or the transport through the membrane takes place. That is the sodium molecule using the potassium as an energy molecule opens the channel, and they pass through. Once the sodium passes and reaches there and the channel is open, potassium gets in, and the phosphate energy molecule is detached from the channel, so the channel closes, pushing the potassium down to the cytosol. That's how the potassium and sodium are exchanged through the membrane. Now the secondary transport mechanism, that is the in this the substances are moved using the energy received by the second substance. Movement of the second substance causes the energy that is utilized by the secondary active transport. That is whenever there is a diffusion, that is the molecule move from higher concentration to lower concentration, that releases some energy that is utilized by the active transport to move the molecule from lower energy, lower medium to higher medium. For example, in this again there are two types, that is symport and antiport. In symport, two substances move in same direction. In antiport, there are two substances move in opposite directions. Now, with the example, we'll just see. So the sodium concentration is high at the interstitial fluid there, and this glucose molecules lower concentration. So from lower concentration, glucose has to move to the higher concentration. So this glucose requires some energy to pass through this membrane. So how does that this glucose gets the energy now? Now, because the sodium is passing through the normal diffusion process, that is sodium from higher concentration to lower concentration, it is coming. So this sodium, while passing through the interstitial fluid to cytosol, it is releasing some energy. So this energy is utilized by this glucose molecule, which passes through the cell membrane and reaches to the cytosol from the interstitial fluid. That is called the this is the symport, wherein the two molecules from same side, that is from interstitial fluid itself, they are flowing down. That is sodium and glucose molecule both from same interstitial fluid in the same direction, they are flowing to the cytosol. That is the symporter. Whereas in antiporter, the sodium is coming from up, that is the energy is released by the diffusion of the sodium, which is entering from the interstitial fluid to the cytosol. That energy is used by the hydrogen molecules which are present in a lower concentration at cytosol. They use this energy and they move in the opposite direction from cytosol to interstitial fluid. That's why it's called as antiporter, wherein the two molecules move in an opposite direction. Okay, that is the secondary active transport. Now this is all about the active transport we discussed. Now we will discuss about the vesicle transport. In vesicle transport, basically, as I said, it uses usually the large substances are passed through this vesicles. It uses a vesicle or the sac. Again, in this there are two types, that is exocytosis and endocytosis. The exocytosis usually sends the material from the cell into the interstitial fluid. That is within the cell, whatever the waste is there, whatever it want to supply to transfer it to outside. So the exocytosis, it exits, okay, exit from the cell to the outside. That is exocytosis. So in exocytosis, what happens is that the Golgi apparatus, which is store the protein in them, that Golgi apparatus releases the secretory vesicles. Okay, those secretory vesicles, they carry these proteins from the Golgi apparatus. These vesicles travel to the cell membrane now, plasma membrane. So this plasma membrane utilizes those proteins which are required by the for the formation of this phospholipids. So the remaining proteins which is present in these vehicles, the contents are released outside the body. That's how the transport from the Golgi apparatus through the sac or the vesicle taken place, from which release the contents of these vesicles from the plasma membrane to the interstitial fluid. Okay, that is through the exocytosis. Then coming to the endocytosis, wherein the cell takes in that is the transport of molecules from outside to the inside. That is endocytosis, wherein the cell contents are taken from outside to inside. Like this, they are taken inside. So, as in the endocytosis, the vesicle takes in the solute from the outside, that forms a new vesicle inside the cell now. So again, in endocytosis, there are three major types. That is, one is phagocytosis, pinocytosis, and receptor-mediated endocytosis. Okay, that we'll see once. So in phagocytosis, what happens is that, so in phagocytosis, usually the vesicles usually fuse with the lysosome. Lysosomes are present within the cell. They have got some enzymes which will engulf or digest the new vesicles or new outside whatever the waste material is there, that it will be engulfed or phagocytosed by the lysosomes. So phagocytosis is that the lysosomes which have got a digestive enzymes in them, they will take up or eat that vesicle or stimulus or injury or the molecules which has to be recycled or degraded. So this vehicle gets into the lysosome, and then that will be destroyed there, and then that the recycling process continues. This is called as cell eating. Okay, the solute is eaten up by the lysosomes now. Now, the other one comes is the pinocytosis. There it is eating, here it is drinking. Because in pinocytosis, the solutes which are present in the interstitial fluid here, usually this cell vesicle, they take up the fluid, like they drink. Not particularly they take the solute and they eat. So that is in the phagocytosis where the solutes are eaten up by the lysosomes. Here the in pinocytosis, cell drinking, that is they take up the interstitial fluid, they take up, and then the solutes present in that automatically gets into that. That is the another one. The third one, final one, is the receptor mediated endocytosis, in which there are specific receptors present on the cell membrane. On every cell membrane, there are some specific receptors which are specific to some molecules. So the molecules get attached to those receptors, and once they get attached to the receptor, the cell takes that receptors along with the molecule inside, and a new vesicle is formed which undergoes a recycle later. Okay, so this both endocytosis and exocytosis both require energy. They cannot simply transfer these molecules. So the endocytosis and exocytosis both require some sort of energy for the transport. So this is all about the membrane transport we discussed in this topic. The reference books usually what preferred for this is the most preferred is Tortora, and then you can go for Ross and Wilson also for this. So thanks.